MassBio go along, go ahead and run the show while we be sure to bring in as many questions as we have along the way. And everybody should pay very careful attention to the final slide and start thinking about whether June 6th is open on your calendar.
All right. Well, today's agenda, first I'm going to review the working group and forum progress, then Sarah's going to talk about marketing, and then expanding the reach, our reach as far as marketing our forums, video access, which is great. We're going to talk about possible topic for 2014, and then other business. So let's just get started. Oops. Working group progress. We have 2 of the 6 forum series currently online, and people are registering for the first one, Dreams to Reality Case Study Successes. We've got 32 registers already. The lead working groups on this are drug discovery and legal and regulatory, and Svetlana Lazarova and our fab. This should be a terrific.
All the 32 are MassBio member?
Not necessarily, no. These are all open now to
I know,
non-members.
that's why I asked. That's why I asked.
How many of each?
How many of the 32 are MassBio and how
I
many
can get
are?
back to you with that.
Sorry?
I can get back to you with that.
Okay.
I just looked quickly at the registration
Fine.
numbers this morning. And for the second one, financing the dream avenues for raising capital, Entrepreneurs University and BG Finance are the lead groups on this. And again, terrific panel. We're not quite finished yet. It's 2 investors and 2 entrepreneurs. We're trying to get one more investor on this. And the point of contacts on this are Mike Donovan.
So can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
MassBio is sponsoring an event with high-profile biotech startup speakers at the hotel at the Marlowe. Is that?
Yes.
Is that this week, next week, or something?
Oh,
Or June 4th. June 4th. So I mean, it's a similar type of program. So how did that? I mean, I thought again we're trying to reduce the number of events.
Right.
Yeah.
again,
That's not a MassBio event, though.
that's not a
That was-
MassBio event.
Well, it's just
We're
on the panel.
partners with that.
Well, it's on one of the panels, so
Got it,
that's what
okay.
we're sponsoring.
I didn't know, I happened to notice the publicity, and MassBio was prominent in the publicity.
It's closed already, by the way. You
Pardon?
can you can be on the waiting list, but
Uh-huh.
that's it.
Oh, I already registered, I could tell with those speakers that, just in case I wanted to go, I knew it was gonna, because they're entertaining, they're very entertaining speakers, but, okay, again, I'm looking toward this, fewer events, more publicity, you know, I was
And
afraid.
this, I think, was in the works well before
Yeah.
it was publicized.
Okay.
And also for this rest of the 6 forum series in September, on the 12th, we have executed the dream strategy model company growth. Part 1, Marcom and Finance and HR are on that, and Dahlia, the point of contact with Fab. Executing the dream science tactics for success, drug discovery, and biostats, data management, and clinical trials are lead on that, and Kathy Call and Roger.
I'm sorry, Susan. Who's the lead on September 26th? You went really fast.
Oh, sorry, drug discovery working group, biostats, data management, and clinical trials.
Are there people that, do you know if they pick specific people or just all those groups?
Well, these were the groups that when we had our May 2nd meeting, when we decided on all the different forums, that they said, we want to be involved with this. So we're having a working group meeting June 4th, where we're going to sift out, okay, who's taking the lead and who are the point people, rather than have so many moving parts.
Exactly.
So that would be a lot more efficient.
There were actually there were a whole lot on September 26th, and the safety group wanted,
Oh, yeah,
was
yeah.
tagged in that, so I just was wondering if there was a lead person.
And we've had subsequent conversations.
Susan, have you guys thought about maybe making like a Google Doc or some shared online, I'm sure you've thought of it already, where we can update these, because we forget and I lose the email.
Yeah, we set up a Dropbox
Great.
actually for the Forum Advisory Board and for the working groups.
Great.
And we just started
putting what we think are documents you need into them. So
Super.
after this meeting, we should be able to share that, including
Yeah.
a sort of working document of where some of the meetings are at.
Perfect.
So you can kind of.
Perfect. So actually, I was gonna, that's a really good best practice to share with the committees as well, to have one sort of where we're at document. In my experience, there'll be a lot of documents and no one can find them, but if you have one sort of, it's called like current status, you know, and you change it, but it keeps a lot of the confusion. People always know they can keep the link, they can go to the same document and look at it and say, who's leading that event, you know, who do I talk to? And as you get more information, it's a new thing people are doing because as everybody has so many Dropboxes, it's hard to, you know, keep up, right? And nobody reads their email anymore. So I don't know why that is, but that's the case.
Yeah,
So.
no, we've heard that.
No, isn't it crazy? It's terrible. We
People
haven't-
did say, Susan, the emails are too long, we're not reading them all, so that's.
Yeah, but then people have a link to go to that, here's the status if you wanna see it, and, you know, so that's a great idea to Dropbox.
Calendar, it's great, an Excel
And a calendar.
calendar, here are the planning calls, here are the meetings, here are the actual
So
forums.
Dropbox information will be, people will be invited to this later today?
Yes.
Great,
Okay.
Great
So that's
idea.
excellent.
Thank you.
If you hadn't done that, I was gonna do it this afternoon. so.
Yep, no, we've got that, we were just trying to populate it, some folks have asked for the survey data we went over at the end of the year, so we just put that together with all your contact information,
It's
great.
documents you'll need over the long term.
You have any registered for the June 27?
We have, I think, 16 registered already. And this hasn't, there's been not even an announcement that's gone out, this is just people seeing the website. So when the marketing announcement starts going out, registrations are going to go like that.
I don't know
great
if Susan, you already mentioned this, but I'd like to just share some lessons from putting the June 13th panel. So from what I'm seeing, so I think it's very valuable to actually put specific tasks for specific people and say your job is to contact those people and report in a week. And another thing that I think that we learned through doing is that it really is not helpful to put up a lot of speakers as potential speakers if nobody knows them well enough to talk to them. Because we started with a giant list and then it turns out that there's some people that we just don't know personally to even have a phone call, so it really is not helpful. But it was a lot of growing pains, right?
But you know what, it's a lesson in networking, you should be able to
Yes.
network in this community to almost anybody, right? I mean,
No,
if you,
we should.
We
But
should.
we started with, the kinds of people that, oh yeah, I know him, but that doesn't mean to
I
pick up my
think
phone call.
it's important to note that when we're trying to land speakers for working groups, part of the liaison from this body is that we can connect back and forth, right? So with the people who are in the Forum Advisory Board and everybody in all the working groups, I have trouble believing that there's anybody in Massachusetts that somebody doesn't know.
right,
So anytime if there's an impressive sounding person that nobody knows well enough to speak out for, I think it should be made clear to everybody. Bring it back to the board and we should be able to get to them.
That's absolutely true, but to Charlene's point, throwing up names, if you don't know anybody, you know, it makes it.
well, the division of work is important, right? Because that, I think, is what's leading to people feeling like there's a lot going on.
Well, because
They don't know what they're supposed to do, and then you have to have a call again to talk about it, and really, you just want a bunch of stuff going on, not another meeting.
Well, and if there are a lot of people involved with no clearly defined responsibility, then everybody's assuming the other people will
Yeah,
pick it up.
yeah,
So
yeah. It's always like that.
Nothing gets done.
That's true.
Action items, most important thing on a minutes, you
Yes.
know, who and what, who and what.
We're writing those things back. Okay, so for October 10th, Marcom Working Group is going to take the lead on that. And the FAB contact is Mike Donovan. And for Lessons Learned, Nightmares, October 24th, there were a number of groups that said they want to be involved. For this one, any one of a number of working groups has a great horror story for why something didn't work. So, you know, we'll talk about that.
Do you want to call it like lessons learned, or?
Because who'd like to be in a
Yeah,
family?
it's a scary name.
Yeah.
Just keep the nightmares out.
We'll work on that. That's
What's
work
a
in progress
lessons
as well.
learned or
Nightmares fits.
debrief? Debrief, or I don't know.
Postmortem?
What went wrong?
Yeah.
Lesson. Yeah, what went well, what went wrong?
Anyway, Roger.
Post-event analysis.
Learn from others' catastrophes.
Post-crisis.
Yeah.
post-crisis.
Aren't you glad it wasn't you?
Yes. Well, Roger's
Maybe one, I know, I don't want
Roger's the staff point of contact on this one.
Susan?
Yes.
That, what you just said at the end was really important. For each one of those forums that we have, if we have a FAB contact, can they be up there even on the agenda? Because that's nothing that I have in my notes to know that Roger
Again, it's
is.
in a document in the Dropbox, but yeah, I can modify that.
So we'll be able to see the caption in there,
And
in that
is-
document.
And on each one of these, is there a single working group contact? I mean, I know there's
also
multiple.
in the document in the Dropbox.
So each respective working group has their point of contact.
Yeah, they divided them up.
And so then there's the FAB point of contact. So there should be maybe max 5 people who are working together. Is that correct?
5 individuals, not
Individuals,
groups.
correct.
So it might be worth it also figuring out, again, as a best practice as we go forward. Because I mean, I think this turned out to be a great series, so the processes worked well to get here. It's just kind of how do we do it next time and how do we keep it going? So one thing is 5 people running something just never works, right? So the FAB person can be checking in, but they're not really supposed to be in charge. So really, one of those 4 other people should be the point on that event. You can't really have 4 people run anything. It just doesn't, it's not, you have to have somebody in charge. And, you know, for something like this, or you don't know who the action item, who's checking up, somebody else is doing it, right? So it may just, again, be something we evolve into as the model develops, to find out a FAB and then a working group head for each event. Not that they can't get help from the other people, but somebody's got to kind of be the point person.
I think it's important.
No, some of the groups have evolved that way, but I think it's like the lessons learned, like how do we get everybody doing that?
I think it's important for us to remember that we're not in this room trying to organize all these.
Right.
So, the working groups, if they haven't figured out that they need to put somebody in charge, then they've got bigger problems than.
So my
It's a
feedback is I
different
think they haven't all figured it out.
Right.
I believe that's the
And
case.
some have, usually.
Yeah.
And what I'm trying to do, and I will be doing the next meeting, is that, okay, Marcom is the lead on the October 10th. Who's the current person? Okay, then the FAB point of contact
Right.
for that
Liaise with them,
forum
yeah.
is there as an advisor,
Yeah.
an advisory position. We're having trouble with speakers. How about this? Okay, then they come to the board. But Marcom's liaison, again, you know, guidance, advisory, but the working groups do the work. I coordinate everything, get it all out.
I mean, my reason is not to criticize what's gone on, it's for long-term sustainability, right? It's to get things in place so that in a year we don't burn people out and you have this great system and it keeps going and gets better, you know?
And please, any of you have any advice, any suggestions, we need to know. We need to know. Yes.
Just not to belabor this point, but the feedback I got from my working group is they don't know who that contact is for the working groups on the ones that they want. So I don't know if that was a takeaway at the last working group meeting. Did they have specific names?
For each of these 6, there's 1 or 2 FAB point of contact.
Not FAB, working group.
Working groups. Again, the meeting where everybody decided they wanted to work on something there's a lot of different groups. So on June 4th, we're going to be addressing all of that.
For the groups moving
The
forward.
groups moving forward that are on these and some others as I'll show you. So other working groups have been really bringing forward. Legal and regulatory and FTD. Roger had a great discussion with them at the last working group meeting on July. I've already got this on the calendar. Legal and business issues, formulation changes, drug repurposing, and for extending IP life. Roger, you want to describe what you guys were thinking about for this?
This is just a discussion between the formulation group and the legal group started up, and you know, I put the 2 of them together because they seem to be talking about the same thing, and it started to gain some life. Turns out we're also discovering that 2 of the two of the working group chairs from one of the groups don't get along very well, so that there's going to be an interesting dynamic going forward.
It'll work out.
But I knew that ahead of time, so I thought it would be interesting to watch anyways.
Yeah, it's the only one that's popped up. There's just one tense relationship.
Oh, come on.
No, I just came across this a few weeks
Yeah,
ago.
it's
so-
very high school lunch table.
Yeah.
But it is going to end up being a pretty interesting, and I think from a topical standpoint, it's going to be very timely as well.
Yeah, interpersonal relationships notwithstanding, it's going to be a terrific topic, and they're already working on bringing in good speakers, so that's in process. And then also LNR, August 7th, when should lawyers be involved? Legal issues in drug development and commercialization. These are two new content topics, which are going to be filling our calendar July and August. Again, for the meeting on July 4th, June 4th, I'm sorry, the working groups, we're going to talk about creating forums that either support the series, our drug discovery and development on limited resources, or entirely new content for in August and
So is this
December.
billed as a two-part series? Is there a reason why?
No, these are just two.
So as far as your marketing and branding, you might want to worry about having, next time, maybe spreading out to events like that have legal in their title, because you start to look like you're becoming, it's just a marketing thing. If people see it twice, they'll think like you're taking a certain path and you're, who's active and who's involved. And you want to make sure you keep being general, right? So like, for example, the risk of the bioteching, adventures in bioteching, is that people from pharma think MassBio is all about biotech. So your marketing has to be about keeping diversity,
Well,
in
from the
the,
standpoint of these two, there's an easy fix to shifting that. Just start the title with one question changes.
Yeah.
And colon followed by legal and business issues.
These aren't final titles, the groups have.
right, so just as a marketing point, you may not want to make them both look like legal things.
Right,
You know what I mean?
again, these are draft titles, and also, again, this calendar will get populated with events by SEF, and other groups. June 4th, we'll have a more complete look at what it's going to look like. So it looks like, given all of the work that's been going on, meetings both on and offline, we've got the calendar for 2013 looking pretty complete before. So, I'll turn this over to Sarah.
So we thought we could spend some of our time today going over some of how we get our contacts, what we do to maintain them, just to give you guys a look into kind of what we do, and then talk a little bit about what else we should be doing as we are reshaping this whole program. There's obviously a big piece of it that's making sure the right people are in the room. So I just wanted to go over a little bit of background on our database, the tools we use to market events, those types of things. So our current database, it's a proprietary database called Pivotal, customized for the organization. We have about 20,000, 21,000 contact records, individuals in the database. 15,700 of those have active email addresses or have an email address attached. So about 4,000 we don't have an email address. We have a phone number or mailing address.
Where do these come from?
We'll get there. Give me one sec. So the database is kind of segmented into subscriptions, the way we sort of outreach to people. The largest subscription that people choose is our general upcoming events. They signify that they want to know in general about upcoming events. That's the biggest list we maintain, about 13,000 contacts. The old committee list, which quite frankly I inherited, I'm not entirely sure where they started. The database is about 8 years old, so sometime around that time, committees were populating lists. The old committees had anywhere between 207 to about 1,000 individual contacts on each
Now I
committee
have a
list.
question.
Yes.
whatever the active one or the silent one, for example, Novartis is a Mass Bio subscription. How many people at Novartis are getting an email from Mass Bio? The same BU. I can go on and on. So that's the question, because if somebody in a pharma or a university, which is the contact person, does not send it around, people don't know.
Right.
So how we are solving
So
this
if you
one?
give me just a few minutes to walk through what we have now and
Okay.
what we're trying to do to get deeper into those lists. Right now, it is, I mean, any individual, whether they're a Mass Bio member or not, can sign up for our email lists. We have some activities we undertake to get
They
deeper.
don't know. They don't know. That's the
Okay, so
Okay.
we'll get to that part. Right now, so in the process of changing the committees to working groups, we have been asking all of our existing contacts to kind of reaffirm their interest. So instead of saying, you know, I want to belong to the formulation committee, we're asking folks to go in and they actually control their own subscriptions. I'm interested in, you know, drug development, I'm interested in a whole range of items. So there are a number of ways you can subscribe to our list or you get in our database. On our website, there's two ways. There's kind of a form where you just put in your email address and it takes you to the subscription page. There's also through our member portal, so if you know you're a member, you log in, you can manage your own subscriptions in your member portal page. On all of our emails, there's always a forward to a friend option. There's also at the bottom, you know, if you're not subscribed to this list, click here to subscribe. We use Constant Contact, so it's a pretty familiar format for people.
What's your open rate, Sarah?
I actually have that.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. At our events, we always have a paper sign up, so you'll see the old-fashioned way, which actually is still very effective, and through a staff member. So anyone can contact any of us and ask to be added, or when we meet with folks, we'll add them in. The system has some spam protection, so we are very aware that at any moment, if we start to annoy people, they can unsubscribe. And once they do, there's not a lot we can do to get them back.
That's one thing about Constant Contact.
Yeah, once we annoy them and they opt out, there are ways to get back engaged, but it's not easy, and that's a federal law, and that we have to offer them a way out of our lists. So our member outreach, we've actually started in the past year a couple of targeted visits to some of our large companies and growing companies. So for example, last week Kendall and Lauren went to AMAG, which has grown significantly in the last 18 months, went and met with 50 AMAG employees to talk about Mass Bio, get them signed up, get them interested. Pardon?
To what?
AMAG,
We did like a lunch and learn.
it's a biotech, one of our biotech members, they have 180
Yeah.
employees.
So we've been doing these, so we understand, Dahlia, to your point, that penetrating the employee base of some of our larger, if any size company really, is an obstacle for us, because we have some very good contacts at most of our companies, but it's getting the education out to their employee base and the awareness. So
We did Biogen's Weston location and Cambridge location, we did.
Shire, Organo, so we've been doing a series of these lunch and learns. Any company that's interested really, and what we do is we go to their cafeteria, we buy them pizza, and we do a 20-minute overview of, one, what is Mass Bio, and two, what are the deliverables for you as an employee, and thank your company for joining Mass Bio on your behalf. Now you all have access to these benefits. So that's one of the campaigns that we started, because that is one of our biggest obstacles, is educating that employee base of our member company.
And the universities.
Correct, that's part of it. We've done some at various universities as well. But if you have contacts and locations, let us know, and we can go to those various labs or locations that you think would benefit.
Well, I was having the conversation just at Amgen Day last week with one of the university reps there, said that didn't think anybody in the university knew they were members.
No,
the universities have no idea. The postdocs and the staff, even the faculty have no idea that it's accessible to them. Yeah, that's not your fault. That's a cultural, I mean, in the end, it'd be nice if we could do that, but that's a really cultural thing.
where they're just starting this year to realize they have to pay attention to alternate careers.
The research.
And, because 60% of you won't be working in academia next year, it's crazy, right? So NIH is leading this thing, it's gonna trickle down, and you'll see more engagement, my guess is in the next 5 years, because of this NIH initiative to start getting all academic organizations to look further afield.
We actually just supported the Mass Bioed Foundation's application to NIH under that.
Oh, the Breeze
Yes.
thing, or
To try
the
the
Breathe,
view and-
what's it called?
Oh, I'm not sure the
Breathe,
title.
there's a grant, right, yes.
So we are applying to try and
Yeah.
make the most of that initiative.
And we are working with the postdoc population too. There are a number of them that are members, and that we actively work with them to provide them with some job shadow days and things. So it's,
Postdoc are okay, but postdoc are here today and somewhere else in the country the next day, or in another country at all,
Yeah.
not only in CIS. So I'm not sure that the postdoc are the focus. I really don't think so. I think that the focus should be the faculty member.
So they're not interested.
Oh, well, it depends.
The
It
very,
depends.
very few of them. The ones that want to start companies, they don't have time. I mean, I speak to faculty and postdocs about once a week now. And I always mention Mass Bio if I talk about networking or relationship building or getting a job, which is some of the talks I'm giving now, finding a new lab, all these things. And the faculty just glaze right over. They are busy, they are writing grants. This doesn't help them write grants. Unless you had an event on how to get grants in academia, the very few that are interested in crowdfunding and doing industry collaborations, they're already tied in. So I think the reason to look at students and postdocs is some of them will stay, and to create a culture of publicity in the organization. But I agree with you, they don't stay. But I think your faculty, come on, you know how busy they are right now. First of all, they're all terrified because they have no funding. And the sequester is hitting, you can't imagine what it's like.
But that may be even a trigger to make
Yeah.
them, make them interested. And, I don't know, maybe flyer at the university, I don't know, whatever we can to engage people.
Yeah, no, I
Because
think
they
that's
don't
good
know.
feedback.
I
And-
know by definition that they don't know
Yeah, no,
that
you're
they
right.
are
And we
members.
we'll look at our university members and come up with a plan to get out to them over the next 6 to 8 months as well. The follow-up from those
There
companies.
was a postdoc committee, wasn't there? Some years ago, I remember there was some sort of postdoc. I'm not sure if it was a committee or there was a group of postdocs at least involved. And we did, do you remember we spoke with some of them?
It was done at NGH.
Yeah.
So, can we get the list of the institute which are
Oh, it's online.
Yeah, it's
in the
on
member
the
directory.
directory.
Yeah, it's in the member directory. Yeah.
It's most of the,
It's
it's most of
everybody.
the big ones.
It's everybody,
But
yeah.
we can share that.
Right.
The follow-up from those lunch and learn visits is that we connect with companies' internal communications teams as well to understand, like a Novartis, they have a very active internal web or email newsletter to employees. So we go company by company and say, how do you want our information to make sure it gets out to most folks. And then visibility, we've started showing up a lot of different places with our table and tablecloth and
Very grassroots
materials.
campaign.
Including for the first time this fall, we will have a booth at DIA, which is a very different audience for us, but less a member, new member play, more a member engagement, trying to get some of the scientists and the folks who go to conferences like that engage with
Sarah,
Mass Bio.
Are you going to the mass and the malls today?
Yes,
Yeah,
yep,
yeah,
we always have
because
a table.
I think that,
Yep.
for all the startups, so
Yep.
you get them all there early.
Yes, we will be there, and any number of events. If there's something in particular you think that we should appear at, we negotiate media partnerships with a lot of different organizations, so we're happy to do that. It just usually means one of us or two of us splitting a day of sitting at a table and talking to folks, which we're happy to do. And then our database maintenance, I'm not gonna lie, it's probably the hardest thing that I have to think about. But we do maintain regular maintenance of our database. We can see when they bounce and, try and correct emails and when people change organizations. We have a significant cleanup, a really sort of record by record cleanup that we're gonna undergo this summer because we'll be switching to a new database system in the fall. So this is a big focus for us over the summer, is having
You
good
won't use
data.
Constant Contact anymore?
We'll use Constant Contact, but the back end right now, Pivotal the Pivotal system's about 8 years old, so we're gonna go to something
I didn't
a
mean
little
to-
bit newer.
I didn't mean to heckle, I just,
I
you know.
understand that bounce maintenance is very challenging. Yeah, the situation that I encountered though is really weird. For 2 years, I wasn't getting anything from MassBio because there must have been a hiccup with my email server at the moment that a constant contact message came out. My email was tossed and it never got back on again. I kept calling and calling, and it took 2 years before somebody said, oh yeah, there it is.
Yeah, well, we have, I mean, it's, again, because the way email marketing systems are set up and the regulations we have to follow, there are directions if you're blocked by your internet service provider or your network, we can send directions to get people back on. And we can see, like, for example, sometime last year, we saw that all of a sudden 600 Biogen email addresses were not recognized. So we know they made some change to their email system that all of a sudden impacted us. So we worked out with their IT department, all right, you need to whitelist all these codes.
The constant contact is notorious for people spam. Their organization firewalls seeing it as
Getting
spam.
into spam.
And sometimes there's nothing you can do even going on a list. So like I know of our 60,000, we actually have some idea that probably at least 5% of those are seen as spam because we've done some research on it. And there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
You can contact the organization, but sometimes they can't even help you, you know?
Although we are we've been a constant contact customer for 4 years. We still think they're a pretty good email marketing solution, but we are looking at MailChimp, which seems to be gathering some steam. So if folks have experience with MailChimp, we'd like to talk about that too. You can do some more interesting things with MailChimp graphically, so that's why we're looking at it. But any feedback is appreciated.
And when firewalls are flagging constant contact, what are they going to say when they see something called MailChimp?
We got to stay ahead of the curve, right, before the firewall finds you. I do want to just skip to this quick to Roger's question around marketing. So we have an open rate across our emails of about 21%. I can say that varies pretty widely. Our upcoming events email on Friday afternoons is one of our highest read and highest clicked through. And when we send a reminder email, that open rate is much higher because people have a vested interest in looking at where they're going in a couple of days. Some of them are lower. But our average is about 21%. The industry average, according to Constant Contact, for an association, which is what we are, not sort of biotech industry, association industry, is about 22%. Our click rate, again, it ranges from 5% to 25%. The 25% is probably our upcoming events email where you can click on a lot of different kinds of things. 5% is some of the smaller list marketing emails. And our bounces, this is my ongoing challenge, our bounces are about twice as high as industry average, so something we're looking at very seriously.
So on that Friday email, what's your open rate for that? Is it close to
It's-
the 21?
Yeah, I want to say it's
Yeah.
it's high, it's slightly higher than that, maybe 23 or 24%
That's pretty
over
good.
a year.
Very good, actually.
So, the challenge with that email is when people open, they're not necessarily just seeing MassBio, because that's a tool we also use to market some of our member events and things like that. But I think the open rate shows that people find that valuable because we have become a resource for where you can check out a calendar of industry events and things coming on. So, and actually that leads to how we're thinking about our event email marketing. Some of you are familiar when you were involved with the committees and what we did. We would send meeting-specific emails beginning 3 weeks prior to the event to the group that had organized that event, one each week, until we got up to the event, and then a reminder email between 2 and 3 days ahead of time, depending where it fell in the week, to folks who were registered, reminding them it was coming and that sort of thing. As part of this effort, in trying to encourage all the working groups to think about audience right from the beginning, we're gonna dive a little deeper into our data when we come up with lists. So we are asking folks to think right from the beginning, who do you want in the room at the event? So we can do things like target not just subscription lists as people populated, that will still be part of it, but also particular job titles, particular types of companies. And then partner organizations outside of MassBio that might be of interest for a particular meeting or series of meetings. So as far as just number of emails right now, at the beginning of every month, we've added on the first of the month or whatever the closest business day is, an email that just has highlights of MassBio only events in that month. So there may be one of our signature events, but more often than not, the top of that, including the May, was around our forum events. The idea is that we have the Friday email to help other folks and to build this sense of a lot going on. The first of the month email will always be a summary of what MassBio has going on in that particular month.
And I think that's great. I think the current email is just,
It's a lot.
sorry, you're losing your, you're right about it being a good resource, and that's good that MassBio brings that.
But it's not.
But
our
you're losing it on you're losing the glory of your events, and I think, so what about MassBio Ed? Can you cut some of that out as well and really focus on the forum events?
On the first of the month, we have started using the MassBio Ed courses as a sidebar. So it's more, professional development as a sidebar. It's still if you can picture templates, the centerpiece.
Yeah.
We've also done a little bit of work in trying to move the emails based on a lot of feedback, less text, more, you can link someplace to read more, much more graphical, new icons and images, which is what people seem to like. We have the capacity to use video in email, so we're looking at how to do that. We do that with some of our signature events, have people do kind of testimonials leading up to an event, why you should come, why I registered, and it's pretty easy to do. It's just a matter of finding someone who will drive interest just by showing their, still shot of their face and talking about an event. So
What I would suggest, what's happening is these audio podcasts, audio snippets that you can click on instead of video, which is much more involved, just where someone is describing the event. I love that. I mean, that's happening more and more on websites now, and I think it's just it's easy. You record it, you click on it, and it just sort of draws you in without any effort. Just audio.
So it's just like a WAV file that you click on it and it plays. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Short and sweet, but I mean, then it jumps off, you're not reading, it's not getting, so say you have MassBio Ed and a bunch of stuff on there, you click on that one thing and you're listening, you're not even reading it.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree. The voice can have a lot more impact than having to read a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's being used a lot more.
I would say don't, kind of like in the news articles, they have a picture of what's going on and they tell you everything, but then the text is below. I think you need to hit both people.
Yeah.
Because for
Yeah,
me, I'm a reader, not a listener, but in the same thing, I'm watching the slide and listening to you guys.
So we are in the process of rethinking how we market the forums. We are going to do, as I mentioned, much more specific outreach, thinking about the audiences we want. So I can't say that for each event we're going to send X amount of emails. We're going to be watching very carefully how far in advance and when people are clicking and being aware of audiences to make sure that we're not marketing to a group too many events at a time, and that comes way back in the planning process as well. So it's a little bit in flux, but we know that our end of this bargain, this grand bargain we've all gone through, is to get people in the room. So any feedback as we start to work these out, we are looking forward to. We also have, we're starting to share our email templates with partnering organizations. So we send an HTML file to the Tech Transfer Center, for example, to spread the word about the 6-part series. So we have new tools to be able to get further with our emails. And we'll continue to do a reminder email. We are looking, as we upgrade our database, to be able to send the iCal for folks who have registered other events like Eventbrite. You can add it to your calendar after you register. That's something we've had some technical difficulty with in the past, but we are looking, as we upgrade the database, which talks to the website, to allow people to add the event to their calendar. So we do market all of our events on social media. I'll be honest, it doesn't drive a lot of traffic. It still isn't a huge generator for us, but we will continue to do it. And we think even if people just hear about it on Twitter and then see an email later, I mean, it's about getting something in people's consciousness more than once, but I can say it doesn't right now drive registration as the emails do. And it also, as we, in some of the survey results I was looking back through so we could put them on Dropbox for you, the majority of our audience prefers to be communicated with via email. It's a little bit of a paradox around email. And we are talking to other organizations about more official cross-marketing of events. So the groups listed here, the top 4 we've already worked with to get word out about the 6 forum series. We're meeting with Ty tomorrow, or?
I think so.
This week.
What's time?
They're an Indian entrepreneurship organization with a very active Boston chapter. So if you have other organizations that you're involved in, where we can open, West, yes, that was the other one we didn't reach out to.
And how about the Capital Network?
And Capital Network and New England Venture Capital Association is on our list for this week. I have a meeting with the New
And there's
England.
another one, New England Healthcare Executive. So they do a lot of events at the early Emerging Enterprise Center in
Now,
Milwaukee.
there is also the CEO organization.
I could, Sarah, I could send you the New England
Yeah,
executive, the contact person.
Great.
Because you could also include the various incubators, accelerators in the area. They've got portfolio companies that are likely to be interested in some of these things.
And Roger, when they communicate, I mean, if we sent something in email, is that something they just forward on, or what would they need from us to be able to spread that through?
Well, you need to, like, I know with the NSIV or the Creation incubators, you send them an email, they'll forward it to anybody in their shop.
Okay.
I don't know what CIC or Johannes or any of those other guys would do. I kind of presume they would circulate things, but you should have to have a conversation.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
I
we
mean, I don't
met
think
with
Lab
Marty
Central has
and
a-
with Raj last week about sharing communications as
Right.
well. That's one of our platforms as well, to get an idea of how the incubators are operating, so we can best serve the incubators. So Pete Hebert and I are going out to meet with each respective incubator to get that, so that's a really good point, Roger, to
And Sarah, I'll
share the
send,
communications.
so we have the Startup Accelerator, but I let the companies know that are in our facility, so.
Oh, what did I do? Oh, so this actually is well. So I think we want to hear from you. So what can we do better, and how can we tap into your networks to help spread the word as well? And not just you, but as Susan mentioned, we meet the working groups on June 4th, and we promised them an update from this conversation. They were very interested in the marketing conversation as well, to see, how do we want them to use their networks. From a very operational perspective, there are sort of 3 ways that we think about it. You reach out to your contacts on your own, so that you're just taking the reins, you forward emails, or you post on LinkedIn and Twitter, and we can provide draft messages that are already 140 characters or fit the LinkedIn template, or
That would be great.
whatever the case may be, because we have to do that anyway, so we're happy to share those materials. You can turn in your contacts. Most people are not comfortable with this, but some folks are. If you want to share contacts with us that you think should be added to our upcoming events list, or your particular committee of interest, or whatever the case may be, we have plenty of ways to upload folks into our database. I know that's not comfortable for everyone. Or you can point your contacts to us in any way. If you meet someone, you find someone, we have a bunch of business cards that just say connect to MassBio, and they have all of our social media and our LinkedIn group and everything on them that we can.
Some of them.
Yeah.
I think for social media, I'm always happy to retweet or post on LinkedIn whatever comes out from MassBio or Bob Coughlin, which always seems to be the same thing back to back. So I suspect they're done by the same person.
Sometimes you can see when he goes rogue. You can tell when
And one thing you might want to do, just on that, is just like, I don't know if he's using
TweetDeck or Hootsuite or?
We use Hootsuite.
Hootsuite, so just to have Bob and MassBio just tweet 4 hours apart?
Yeah,
The
we,
same,
we do
yeah.
try and keep,
Because I have
depending
seen
on
them
which
come out at
events
the
we're
same
at.
time.
Sometimes
There's someone at the
he
same
likes-
time in the
Sometimes he
feed.
does it himself. and he-
Yeah.
And then sometimes he
But they're good.
retweets us, not realizing that he's already tweeted the same thing, because he's not totally in control of
I
his
think
account.
it's.
So two people are tweeting his Bob, yeah, I got it.
I think that the power of repetition is significant, and you mentioned the 140 character messages. If you can distribute to members of this board, and I don't know how many do any tweeting or LinkedIn updates, but if you forward such messages to us, those of us who are involved in social media can then put out what looks like original messages, and then when yours comes out, we can do a retweet, and you start to get a little more exposure that way.
Absolutely, we can share those on a formal basis. So, and just my sort of last point, I think this is the last thing. So we have, because we're creating all these materials, we're happy to share it in any way you guys would like to see what we currently create. Emails that can be shared as HTML if you have your own system in different organizations. Messages for social media. We have PDF flyers of most materials because we're handing them out at events and those kind of things. We still do a lot of hard copy stuff. We can give you print versions of those flyers if there's some place that you want to distribute them. And then any other materials that you think would be helpful, we're happy to help. What we're trying to get out of this discussion and talking with the working groups on June 4th is some sort of sustainable way to be able to forward or get deeper into everybody's networks, and how we can set that up to make you as successful as possible and get, folks that you do run into who say, I don't know about MassBio, how to answer them, how to get them engaged. So.
I mean, it might help if for each event and for general, you had, so you don't want to spam your committee leads and your fab people either, because then we'll start deleting things, But so if for each event, I mean, I guess I don't really see the reason of needing original text, because we can always retweet. I mean, I'm following MassBio Ed, and I just retweet it. Sometimes you just delete the retweet part and it's you, right? So you don't, I mean, if you're using a social media platform, it can be, you can just copy and paste, but maybe.
I'm just thinking if I get it by email,
Right.
I don't spend my entire day looking at
Right,
the
you're sitting around
Twitter
you.
feed.
So if you set
Sometimes I'll miss it.
one media package per event to all the team members with a tweet, a LinkedIn, a template email, the flyer attached, the whole shebang in one thing, here's the media package for the June da-da-da-da event, then, instead of sending it over and over again and it being disorganized, then there's that one thing, you can go back to that email and copy and paste from it. I'm just a little wary again of like getting 5 emails from one thing, I'm gonna stop looking at it, so.
Part of what we're driving.
Maybe we need to establish a forum hashtag that will direct people to any conversations on the various forums.
Any thoughts on what we should use?
So MassBio forum is kind of long.
It's not the longest we've ever used.
But no, but then you take up too much real estate, you can't
so
say anything.
It's hard to find
Mass
one that
forums?
says what it is and.
Well, I got a question. You had said earlier you didn't get a lot of response out of social media. So how many people are following MassBio on Twitter?
A lot. I can't remember off the top of my head. It's several. I mean, there's a lot of people following us.
Thousands or hundreds?
It's well over 1,000.
Okay.
We have to. I mean, so I guess I should qualify my comments earlier. It's a valuable tool for us. We see a lot of activity. We have a lot of followers. What I can't say is that it drives registration. That people aren't necessarily going from Twitter to register. That's partially human behavior.
Bob Kaufman has 1,100 followers, MassBio has 3,700.
That's huge, it's
So-
just a marketing touch point.
I have to say some of the biggest success as far as driving specific behavior has been in LinkedIn. We have a very big LinkedIn group. They don't talk a lot, but it does actually drive registration when we look at, and it does help when people post on their LinkedIn profiles that they're either involved in an event or speaking at an event. We've started about a year and a half ago to all of our big event speakers circulating some LinkedIn suggested messages for them. You know, check out the Mass Bio annual meeting. I'll be speaking on a panel on reimbursement or things like that. And we know that not everybody uses those tools the same way, so it's really at your pleasure, but it does help.
Are you able to register just by a click, or do you have to enter in a whole bunch of information? Sometimes it's hard to do from this, and just curious, if you get a tweet, and you want to register, what's the process? Is there, just thinking like, the simpler the better, obviously.
Right. You can. It's probably not the easiest form you've ever seen. I can tell you from your mobile phone, it's not as easy as like an Eventbrite, which we are aware of. If you're logged in and you do it a lot, you don't have to go through the login and everything like that. But if you're not logged in, then you have to go to the tiny box, and put your credentials in. So it's. Pardon?
Why can't you use Eventbrite?
Right now, Eventbrite doesn't actually connect to any of our database. So the actual getting information out of it, we didn't want to take the step of going to a whole new event system when our website does that. That being said, we know that that's a weakness, and as we plan for either the website upgrades or the database integration, that's an area where we have to focus. Other suggestions, thoughts?
Well, just, I think social media is great, but all the data that I've seen suggests that there's overload. And I think that's why it's not really driving registration. LinkedIn is the one where career-minded people spend the most time, so maybe we need to focus in on that.
Yeah, I agree. The way that I do use Twitter is basically, if I'm posting something in LinkedIn, I'll check the box that says put on Twitter as well. I don't know how much people are paying attention to Twitter feeds since it's so much noise, but it's a useful thing, and if we do get, and I'll play around with some hashtag kinds of names that we send around, but if you do build so-called buzz with an ongoing conversation, so if there's a forum hashtag that people can click on and see what conversations have been going on, there's some real conversations happening. You start getting people's attention that way. All right, so and then you start getting people who are coming across it will get it. It's not going to drive people to the door, but it's a tool that we really ought to be using.
Do you want to assign someone to live tweet from each event?
From each forum?
Because then you'll have a lot of.
With people willing to do that?
Well, that's how you get people to use the hashtags when there's a real content.
Yeah, if you hand everybody the agenda with the hashtag on it, or you put it, you have the hashtag on the top of each slide, why not? Mention it. That's the whole point. Social media only works if people are socializing it.
Right. We've done it for our signature events where, we can kind of focus on it. We haven't tried it for the forum, so I think particularly in June, in June we can test out and see what happens. I can say the other thing that Twitter is useful for is, individuals maintain their LinkedIn, so it's human beings. Companies maintain Twitter. So if an executive is speaking on our panel, we do get a boost from their company tweeting to their followers that their executive is speaking. So we can work with marketing people to get it a lot broader. It's not as easy on LinkedIn to get sort of that corporate marketing effort because their CEO is usually maintaining his own information. It's very kind of closed. So they serve different purposes, and we try and put effort into them all on that sort of understanding that LinkedIn is probably most valuable. Twitter is easy to do. It's important to be there to create some buzz. Facebook we do very little with unless there's pictures involved. Our audience doesn't really engage with us on Facebook. If you look, it's usually like my mom and my aunt liking our statuses. We're there to have a page to be able to do photos. Some of the video content's well distributed there, but
We're getting no engagement on Facebook by people at work, they're nice.
Yeah,
Facebook isn't a place where a lot of pharmaceutical and biotech executives go to work on their businesses.
so we're there, but we don't spend much time on it.
So one of the things about marketing is to think about what is the potential universe that you can market to, and then you can decide where we are against that currently. So have you guys been able to figure out, I always hear that there's 600 or 700 companies in MassBio, what the total number of membership in terms of individual bodies is? That would be sort of a captive audience of folks who are already members who have a very low barrier to attend events. And then you'd want to think beyond that to people who aren't members, who may or may not get the same communications depending upon what your strategy is. But at least for the captive audience, do you have a general idea of everyone, of every organization that's a member? What's the sum total of individuals and all that matched against where are we with 15,000 or so people? And do you have a sense of per organization, how many individuals per every member are already on your email list? It's not
We
hard to
haven't,
do.
yeah, I mean, we actually have, I know we have the data. One caveat, most of our employee numbers are self-reported by a company, so there's a little bit of a fudge factor in that.
No, you can just, by the domain, figure out how many individual emails you have that are
No,
on the
but when you
list.
talk about the total universe, like, do I know how many employees Novartis has in Massachusetts? They tell us, so I can't double check how many
All
they
right,
actually
yeah,
have.
well, okay,
And-
that's at least one number.
Yeah, so we do have, I mean, they self-report Massachusetts employees around their dues repayment, so we have those numbers, and we can cross-check with the number of emails we currently have. We know, I mean, from our own annual data that there are 53,000 employees working in what we consider the biotech life sciences universe in Massachusetts. We don't include all of hospitals, we don't include, I mean, there's a subsection of hospitals we consider biotech, a subsection of medical device we consider biotech, but those are sort of outside our annual reporting. So, yes, I mean, conceivably, we should be talking to 53,000 individuals.
That's only based on membership, right?
No, that's based on Department of Labor statistics on employment.
So we broached the subject before, but is there a way to get member companies to pony up an email list, or is that something that they just don't like doing?
Most of them, the big ones, don't like doing it. Plus, they can't maintain it. I mean, there's a lot of in and out at the companies. For small companies, when they join, some of them will give us their entire employee base, and then we could just add them in. We've never made it a mandatory membership practice.
So with the big companies, you're pretty much relying on their internal web communication.
And trying to get them somewhere where they are going or get them to come here at some point. So we've added a bunch of open networking events, a little less intimidating if folks want to stop by and we snag them and let them know about program-based events. But that is why we go to a lot of other conferences, to try and get to folks and say, you're already a MassBio member, just come.
Well, are there any other suggestions or thoughts on marketing?
Was there going to be some, I know that you did it when you launched it at the annual meeting, which I'm sorry I was out of town for that, but some way to recognize the working group chairs?
Yes,
Okay.
and the Forum
Just checking.
Advisory Board, actually. So we have a little press release almost ready to go with the final list of the members that we'll be sending out, so all of you can recognize. Also, I'm not sure we ever sent this, but we have some directions on how to add to your particular LinkedIn profile your engagement with MassBio. It's like 3 clicks. It's just important to find the right MassBio. We have an active company page. There's an old MBC group that we actually have had a little bit of trouble getting rid of because the administrator passed away, and LinkedIn requires a death certificate before they will take it down, no lie. So I've actually reached out to his former employer to see if we can ask the family for a death certificate. So there is one old MBC group, and there's the active Mass Bio group. So the directions point you to the right one. It's the most bizarre thing. But LinkedIn is very
Are you able to
serious.
change the account, or is he the only administrator?
He created it like
And
7
didn't
years
make
ago,
anybody
8
else
years
an
ago.
administrator? Oh, that's really bad practice.
Yeah, and it's very sad. I mean, he's a young guy. He signed up for LinkedIn right at the beginning, very active with Mass Bio, ended up passing away from cancer a few years ago. Actually, right around when I started here and tried to get a hold of the account. So then I couldn't ask right away, and so it's the most
There's
bizarre.
probably nothing that we can do about that in this room.
So we're just encouraging folks to look, the directions that we created show you to choose the right Mass Bio so that you're connected to us as an active organization, and the other one should fade away at some point. So anything, and this is obviously an ongoing conversation, a lot of work we want to do, a lot of work we hope you can help us do. But again, our two goals around marketing these forums is to broaden our audience, so we want to be talking to more people, and also to make the communications more effective, so that when we talk to them, they're doing what we want them to do.
Well, I was going to suggest for the email side, in the same way that I think it would be difficult for some of us to just turn over our entire contact email list to you for all the reasons that you described. It's probably the same for you to give us your email list so that we can look at it and see who's on it. But I might recommend something that would be helpful for me is if you could get a count of the various domains of your emails, which is not hard to do. 15,000, you put them in Excel, you do text to comments or whatever, and you just get the number of folks who have the same domain, and then count them. So we'll know how many do you have from MGH, how many do you have from BU, how many do you have from Novartis. And I'm sure there's going to be some domains on there where you're going to say, well, these guys only know 3 people from X company, and I know I already know 10. So I think that would be quite helpful.
Absolutely.
We would specifically then target people who are on our list that we already know that you're shy of.
We can go even one step further. We can tell you if those individuals have taken the step of creating a login on our website, which means that they have even, other than just receiving our email, taken the step of being interested enough to go on and either maintain their subscriptions, register for an event. I mean, that's another level of engagement we measure. So there's
Okay,
folks
so
we send things.
Can we get said list produced and distributed to the board?
Yeah.
So do you know how many people now use their work email versus their personal email?
Well, so 2 things. On their email subscriptions, they can use their personal account. They can't log into our website with their personal account. It has to be an email
I
domain
see.
that is recognized as a member organization.
So you have all those data, you have both of those data, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be very helpful to get.
Yes. So it might, trying to think, it might take me a few days, but we do have all that information and can share that. And that's exactly it. If you know that you work with, if you work with Novartis all the time, and you can make it an introduction or even suggest 3 or 5 people to be on our list, we're happy to double check.
If you have 1,500 people in your database, the likelihood of being able to add another one is probably comfortable. So that's why the information is useful.
Absolutely. So I guess the sort of addendum to talking about marketing is I just wanted to, and at Roger's suggestion, let folks know where we're at with videotaping our forum events.
Before we move on with emails, could I just, again, asking about the universe, who we want to be approaching on the academic side and just in general, because John and I were talking about how the number of 53,000 is probably small as it relates to healthcare, biotech, life science, employment in Massachusetts, which is the largest industry here. What are we focusing on here in terms of the mix, the type of individual we want outreach to? So, because we can probably keep going to hospital clinicians and we can keep broadening what your definitions of life science and all that. So as we say, get us a broader distribution. What are the boundaries of that? Where are we going? What are what should we be thinking about? I mean, do we want every academic to know? Is it a college level? Is it graduate level? I mean, what guidelines can you give us to think about as we want to really think about feeding these bees and really expanding? Because I think if you've only got under 20,000 in an active list and you're only getting 20, you're getting great open rates of 25%. That still only means you're only touching 4,000 people with a communication, and then how many of those on a percent basis are actually going to attend? So your numbers aren't big enough. And you really need a balloon of almost 10x to make this substantive. So the question is, in order to balloon the numbers 10x, where do we go fishing?
So it's, obviously a very big conversation for us as an association. MassBio is a trade association for biotech and life sciences. So first and foremost, the companies are our audience. That has always been the case. And now that in the past couple of years, that sort of company definition has also gone to big pharma, which is a relatively new audience for us, but one we are considering part of our universe. Most of the big pharma companies with a presence in Massachusetts are MassBio members. And then just probably in the last 9 months or a year, more so to the university academic communities. So I think when it comes to marketing the events, we want to think as broadly as possible. When we think about the programming we're putting on, we try and be very aware that our core audience and our mission as a membership organization is to the company environment. So whatever that sort of core company membership is interested in, sometimes it is about tech transfer and that sort of thing. But if we were going to do something specifically on, the logistics of spinning out from a university, we probably wouldn't take the lead because we know we have the tech transfer office, the MADO organization, so we try and understand where we fit with the groups that are doing this kind of programming.
So, one last thing to say on the email outreach. I know we've got a brief overview of globalization coming up, but one of the important things, everybody and his brother wants to do something with Massachusetts biotech companies because there's a lot of stuff going on here. So as a result, there are consulates from all over the world that have business offices here. Whether or not they are members of MassBio, I think it would make sense to put those, as many of those as you can find, on the email distribution list. So, especially for relatively small companies, there's nothing quite like meeting somebody with a funny accent to have a conversation with to initiate some kind of an international business relationship.
And there are many.
Yeah.
They're all over the place, and they're actively looking for things. There are growing numbers of extraordinary clusters of biotech activity in various countries around the world, all of whom would love to have interactions with Massachusetts.
So there is an event, which I think I signed for, of the Massachusetts Life Science Center about those new areas. Yes.
Here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is here, I don't know when.
Yeah.
I know.
The
And I think.
second week?
Okay, so, which is, because I'm part of it, but it's very useful.
Yes.
And I think that that's is a starting point to have all those really representative, and they are representative in Massachusetts for those 4 or 5 additional, membership, the MassBio, a company, Belgium,
Yep, Wallonia,
Belgium,
yeah.
Austria.
Quebec.
Exactly. So I
Yeah.
think that will be very important.
We just, at Bio, we met with a delegation from Lithuania is bringing a number of companies in September, so we'll be hosting them there. That's a great point to make sure that they're added to all of our forum lists as well.
I would like to maybe just further mention about the tech transfer centers because so our company works with all of those translational research centers and basically what they have started doing now is picking up the slack that VCs are not interested in and then taking some of the risk of the technologies and spinning out companies. So they will be producing the future biotechs or emerging companies. So I think that the technology transfer centers, mostly the ones that are involved in translational research, such as the Accelerator Fund at Harvard and Children's Hospital Fund, Tufts has it. Pretty much now everybody has a fund to try to spin out the companies and generate more licensing revenue. So they may be.
I just want to add my comments on that as well. I agree absolutely that if you're marketing to universities, I would market to the tech transfer offices and economic development offices. When I worked at UMass Med School, our tech transfer office paid for the MassBio membership. We participated in and exhibited at conferences, MassBio. And your faculty, majority of your faculty and students, as people said earlier, not interested in trade associations. A small number are, and those are the people who are interacting with the tech transfer offices. and the economic development offices. And so that would be your channel for
And
marketing
those are
to
the
universities.
folks that John Hallinan and Rakshita have been working with around some of our entrepreneurship programs and mentoring programs too. So looping them into this other program.
And I'm happy to make introductions to the tech transfer directors from the universities that we work with.
That can expand beyond the immediate area, right? I mean, we're also getting companies from other states coming into Mass Connect. Why not spread the wealth?
You brought up innovation services, and one of the things that Rashida and I have discovered is that the word is spreading virally by word of mouth. And I think it points out that in the era of social media, the fact that we talk it up makes a big difference at events. And I know that every single interaction that we have, we talk about innovation services. And the fact that it's really two people and then the team supporting it, and it has a much broader footprint because of that. So if there's something that we can do to formalize those dialogues, every event, something that we can do, I think that that's still has far greater impact than some social media.
Yeah. No, I agree, particularly in this industry.
I'm
Social
curious.
media.
You have a table in the Law and Council Symposium. Did you have any traction from after?
Do we have any?
People new people coming
Oh,
to
yeah.
register after the event?
Yeah, absolutely, and particularly because we were at Merck, a number of Merck employees who said, "Oh yeah," and we just say, "Your company already pays your dues, so sign up here. Here's some of our upcoming events." Absolutely. The more we can do that, it's just really getting to each individual person.
Social media is just a marketing touch point. It's not, it has to be something that's low energy, it's all automated into its suite. You spend a few hours a week setting it up and then it runs, at least that's how most places do it. It's just like, how what's the marketing, 7 times? Isn't that the rule?
You have to touch
You have to touch people 7 times before they pay attention, right? No, seriously, that's social media is
In a
just
very
one-
noisy universe.
In a very noisy universe, right? So that's just one of the ways so it just has to be, I think, low energy, and I agree, if your people are telling you that email is the way, then email is the way.
And honestly, what we're trying to sort of focus energy on is the fact that MassBio's power is in its network, and we have so many people who stand up and are putting these events together, and you guys who are spending your time, that there's real power in just people talking about us as well. So if there's anything we can do, when someone asks you, like, well, what is MassBio? I've never heard of it, or how do I find out more? Whatever we can give you to prepare you with an answer for that we're happy to do, because ultimately there's, I think 20 people on staff, but we have thousands of people out there every day,
So I think we're starting to get a little bit over repetitive on the subject,
So this will be very quick. Just wanted to let folks know we're testing out a new video system, which is not only technologically easier, but also gives us some opportunity to share video more easily. So it is our goal to live stream and videotape every forum event. That is always what we set out with. The only way that doesn't happen is if one of the speakers will not sign a speaker release. And we do our best to let them know up front that they will be recorded, but sometimes a speaker's organization or legal counsel will allow something to be recorded, and we do not have the manpower to edit out certain sections and conversations and things like that for each meeting. So wherever possible, we live stream it online and have a video archive so that you can look back video on demand.
What's the fraction of people?
Very tiny.
That don't sign?
Oh, that don't sign? It's not that many. I have to say there's certain groups, the legal and regulatory
Yeah. Well, I think
groups, sometimes it's more challenging.
for us too, there's been a number of speakers that I think at
Some of
least
the drug
half.
discovery presentations.
Usually bigger drug companies.
Exactly, the big drug companies, none of them have signed so
and all the ones who sign in to Winkin using a personal email address.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I mean, it gets, because then they have to run it through legal at a different level, and then
As soon
suddenly.
as someone says I have to ask legal, then you're like, oh.
So I like the idea of having a decent quality video feed that obviously can bring in people who don't have the opportunity to drive into the city. But what about taking the meetings out? Is either repeat meetings or special forums being held in different places? We did an Entrepreneurs U. It's now getting close to a couple of years ago. That was in Woburn. Trying to break the mold of Cambridge Bio versus Mass Bio. There's a whole lot of Massachusetts outside of Cambridge, and you don't need a passport to get there. The eye-opening experience of this was people from Cambridge and Boston showed up in Woburn and were floored that it only took them 20 minutes to get there. They had packed a lunch and were thinking it was going to take days.
Lethbridge breadcrumbs. Yeah.
So, you don't have to go far. You can get an occasional forum meeting, or maybe a repeat of a forum meeting, or a reworked one that instead of being here is held somewhere outside of 128 or within 128 and 495. You can get a lot more people who can get to those that might not be willing to actually drive into Cambridge.
So HBA has been working on this.
This is Kathy Call on the line. I think that's a great idea, particularly being out here in Framingham. I think there could be
I was going to say.
great audience, to do some of the events, whether repeat or initial ones out here. Metro
we
West.
definitely get a different crowd. I mean, a number of years ago, we did two, not that far away, but on the other side of the river. one at Johnston and one at Northeastern.
Yeah.
And the reasons we did that was we got the space for free. So, then I would say probably 90% of the people were students or faculty, people from that university. We had lots of course, there were half-a-day events. I mean, they were more substantial, I guess, but a completely different audience. But I would also say that we had fewer of the regular audience there, so to speak, right?
I like the idea of doing a redo or a rework or, something like that.
I like the idea of doing it in the university.
Yeah, no, I mean, both of these were perfectly happy at the end of the day to give us the space for free.
I'm sure.
And we got some good speakers and whatnot from the university. Right, yeah.
Well, it is a way, it is a way of spreading the word, but the risk and what HBA has found is that some of the events are poorly attended at first. And so then someone comes to a poor event and they don't come back, So again, if you go to this, fewer events, bigger, more people involved, attracting more people to try and make each of those events. So when you do those first events, it's really important that they're very high quality, or people just give up very fast. They give up very fast.
Well, for example, if we held something in striking distance from Framingham, we'd have to ask Kathy to do some serious outreach to make sure there's bodies in the room, at least from our immediate contacts, for example.
So our experience with that is that you have to target the companies in the area by specifically as someone mentioned, a personal phone call to the HR or the contact or the Mass Bio and ask them to, with a special flyer, to particularly advertise special event in your area.
Right.
Because otherwise, again, people think it's going to be in Cambridge and they delete it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So with HBA, that's what we've done is when we've gone out to 128, we've had personal contacts at Shire, at Cubist, and targeted geographically, like literally took MapQuest and said, okay, we have to get a person to each of these 10 companies and start. So it's a little bit more work, but
So
I
we've
think
been
it does bring
testing
in
that
people.
out and testing some of the geographies with open networking events. So instead, before we sort of focus on getting panel discussion and AV and things like that, doing some open networking in geographic locations. So we did
Regional mixer up in Woburn. We have one in Waltham this week.
We used to do them in Worcester.
We have one in Worcester
Worcester.
coming
I've
up
been
on
in one in
June
Worcester,
26th.
yeah.
But Joanne, to your point, we actually do the same thing. We pull our membership list from those locations, and Lauren sends a
Special email,
special
right.
email to
Just-
everyone in our database from that company.
Yeah.
And then it's helpful when you can partner with the city or town as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
And there's interest from their perspective of getting the word out.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
We'll be doing
So-
one in Quincy in June.
Yeah.
So we are testing that water. I do think as we plan more of these forums that we absolutely can take them on the road. for us, I mean, it can logistically be a little bit difficult. We are looking for free space that's the right size, that generally has AV capacity. You know, so there are some minimum requirements we need. But there are places, and we've done stuff up in Beverly and then the
Yeah,
Cumming
there's no
Centers.
question. There's all kinds of law firms and companies that would be more than happy to host something like this. Yeah, I think, you know, for now, it's an interesting thought. We should definitely have an action in place to start looking into something like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just a matter of an opportunity. You know, if there's a topic that in a forum that is likely to fit with a particular geographic area because of the concentration of companies or something like that, that would be an excellent opportunity.
Well, we can maybe talk after this about the potential of maybe the June 13th and June 27th doing a roadshow version of that sometime outside of Cambridge, you know, after, because I think that there's going to be significant interest in those topics, and maybe we can package something together.
Repeat the same meeting someplace else? Or-
Well, I don't think we can ever repeat because
No.
the panelists agree to do one,
Right.
one event. But if we could, you know, take sort of the meat of the discussion or the idea behind the discussion and.
There might maybe even something that if there's some kind of polling tools that you could use to reach out to companies that couldn't make it from outside of the area.
Absolutely.
You know, probe for some interest. You know, would you come if we did this near your home?
So last on the video thing, and then I'll be done talking for a while. So we're switching from a proprietary system to Ustream. I don't know if folks have used Ustream. It's kind of like a professional version of YouTube, but it's much more open. It has much more bandwidth. So right now, all of our videos are on our channel, so that's the address, and we actually just switched last month. So we're testing this out, but it's where everything live streams and where all the existing videos live. So there's 4 or 5 on there from the past couple of months. The evolution of the CFO is up there from last month. The FDD meeting from last month is up there. Right now, these are not password protected, so these are available for anyone. We're thinking about how to walk the line of, you know, member value and getting additional eyeballs and sort of balance all those things. But right now we are trying a new system. If folks want to test it out, let us know what you think. We'll make sure that you have the links and everything.
What are you trying out? What system?
Ustream.
Ustream is the new one?
Ustream is a new
Oh,
system.
okay,
We used to pay for a very customized, I don't know, you know, it's like everybody did. They bought these big systems and then you realize, oh, they do it online for like half the cost. It's way easier. So we're making the switch, and right now they're open, they're not password protected. They also live behind the member portal where the old videos used to live, so if folks are used to checking there, it's all still in the same place. But we are sort of testing out a more open model. It's cataloged by Google SEO, things like that, where stuff that lives behind our member portal does not get that kind of Google search ranking. So we're going back and forth on that.
And I think I sent links to all of you in the reminder email, plus the PowerPoints will also live behind the firewall for members only.
Yeah, the PowerPoint presentations at company meetings are still a member-only benefit on our website.
How many live stream people do you have?
It's very, very few.
Yeah.
The majority of people, both in what the numbers show and also in surveying our members, the value is still in coming to a meeting.
Yeah,
That's very valuable. What I can say is for types of job functions where you may not be Cambridge-based on a regular basis, for example, the government affairs folks, many of them are regionally based, so they're not in Cambridge, or they may be based in Albany or Vermont. They tend to stream online more than any other group because they're streaming in from their home office. And so when we do regulatory or government updates, that's been our biggest audience from streaming online.
Because if you do get a big audience live stream, you're sort of cannibalizing the people coming to the meetings. Have you thought about not doing the live stream, but only
Well, we did when we first launched
after?
it, but nobody watched it. I mean, the value for people is still incoming. And we watch it constantly, but it's never gonna replace the in-person piece. It's not been a huge part of our marketing, it's more like, if you can't make it, here it is.
The greatest value is in the networking, but the video could be a way to attract other people. I think this is something that will evolve over time. So why don't we move on and see if we can wrap this up before 10.
So very brief, you wanna, this way?
Yeah, so I'd already suggested, anticipating this, that make sure that we're connecting to the global organizations that are already in, any other states should be lumped into that. And because other states are also interested in doing business with folks in Massachusetts. But we did do, in one of the early brainstorming sessions, a lot of topics on globalization, and I think that covers a number of potential topics for forum meetings. And not clear what we can do right now other than add to that or put them on the queue for topics to address at future meetings.
Well, what I was going to say is that for this year, of course, people, from your March 6th meeting, you all came up with these 5 themes, and people hit on drug discovery with limited resources. And again, from what's been going on, what I've already got on the calendar, these have covered things, various topics in growth, capital agenda, and some healthcare policy. So again, globalization is the next most logical step.
Yeah, so I think as we start looking in the fourth quarter of 2013 and moving forward, adding some globalization kinds of issues and topics, and maybe shoehorn something in before then if something comes up. But I think these are important issues, and probably the first step is making sure that the various representatives from different countries and organizations are included in our outreach here, so that more people are meeting them.
You mean like Swissnex, like the trade organization?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
okay. Yeah.
And the UK embassy is right across the street on CIC.
French one.
I'm sure they'd love to be there. And all these guys around, I've met like representatives from 7 or 8 different countries that are right here in Cambridge and Boston.
So one of the things that came out of this restructuring that was very successful was this group sort of thinking through a theme and then disseminating it through the working groups to come up with the 6-part series. If we think that globalization might be that next theme, it's probably good to start thinking that way. If we want to give direction to the working groups that in 2014 we want to put together, a several-month program of events around globalization, it's good for us to start thinking about that now, because then you have to back so far out to make these things happen too. So, I mean, there's obviously a lot of other things that we can address and that will continue, but this was one place we thought.
I think it's a great theme, and I think it's great to start now and get ahead, so we're ahead, and not always like planning, June and May, and, I think it would be great.
A theme that might tie into globalization, which I think is unique to Massachusetts, is Massachusetts, a true biopharma cluster, which I think, sets apart this economic development engine, in tying that into a global, theme. But I just think that, that this cluster is unique worldwide, period. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 5 years ago, MassBio used to compete with all these other bioclusters, whether they were in Texas or Research Triangle, San Diego, even San Francisco. But I think that capitalizing on sort of a critical aggregation that's occurred over the last 3 years, and even, that this is really a unique biopharma cluster worldwide, which is, ties in globally because you've got Novartis and J&J and all the Sanofi, AstraZeneca. What's happening here and sort of building on that, and that this organization, MassBio, is at the crossroads and in the crosshairs of that.
And you brought up a fabulous point. The fact that Novartis moved HQ from from Basel to here speaks
It's crazy.
volumes. And there's still a lot of pissed off Swiss folks about that.
And then, Tom, you know, so then looking at, and then sort of looking back at the global piece and that, you know, sort of using it as a business development tool from MassBio to highlight that and bring more of those people into this organization, whether it's.
Yeah, that's great, but I know that the big pharma, like Sanofi, because I know Merck and others, have their own event, which sometimes is sponsored, and correct me if I'm wrong, to MassBio, and there are very specific people which are getting the invitation.
Yeah.
Okay, and so that's an issue, whether or not we can do another one, I don't know. You see what I'm trying to
So
say?
you're talking about our pharma days, which
Yes,
is a
exactly.
very straight
Exactly.
business development.
Like Amgen or, you know.
Right.
That's
So-
what it is.
Yeah.
It is business development.
Right.
Trying to identify company in this cluster to work with, but it's very focused, and it's a number of people who are invited are very focused, and you cannot, if you are not in the list, very difficult to get in. So
But they're
it's a
very well
not
attended.
MassBio.
Right.
Right.
Very popular, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But I think.
Which one?
But I think there, you can use it, you can use that as an example of why what I'm saying makes sense. I mean, I mean, there's only so many people that they're gonna invite, you can't do anything about that. I mean, but I think what you want, but I think you're right, you capitalize, if they're showing that interest in motivation on their part, you know, piggybacking it somehow
Right.
with some sort of.
Absolutely, yeah, I think that's a great point. You're right, those are very targeted, very specific, invite-only events, but how do we take the what's happening there or what is of interest there and make it broader for our entire membership and that, you know, taking that program piece out?
I love it, what'd you say, Lithuania is coming?
You wouldn't believe.
I mean, that's my,
obscure
that's sort of what triggered my thought, you know, this is the only true worldwide biopharma cluster is in Massachusetts, period. You know, take that position, and then, you know, then get people like Lithuania to come, other people to come, and maybe you can get them, to, you know, pay to be introduced,
Yeah.
you know?
No, we have so many foreign delegations that we've partnered with via MLU or just relationship based. so-
Portugal's coming soon. Folks on meeting from Portugal.
We tried that once already.
Right, well, that was a crazy marathon day.
But that's like part of MassBio's sort of business development.
Right.
You know, it's not really a forum. I mean, I think there's ways to incorporate those ideas in a globalization themed forum, but those are things you guys have to do because you got to do them, right? I mean, they're.
Right, and they're actually very well attended, well reviewed,
Yeah.
very active events. But yeah, taking that same energy and being able to make it a little broader for folks who may not get the invite would be helpful.
So I think we have an action item for the next FAB meeting is to come up with some good ideas for globalization topics for forum. All right.
Mindful of people's time and Roger's earlier alluding to the most interesting part of the meeting.
Well, just before we step away from that, I think the action here should be that we're spreading the word to all the different groups to start thinking now about topics that would have some kind of a global impact. Preferably ones where we could invite speakers from someplace else, as in globally.
Right. You mean, you're even talking like more than 128 though, you're talking.
Yeah, well, you know.
That shouldn't be
and-
so hard.
And I'm not thinking putting anybody on an airplane from Heidelberg or anything like that, but yeah, there's plenty of representatives around that in town that can come and talk and certainly be part of the network.
Absolutely. So Roger, do you want to finish your
There you go.
reference?
So apparently the pavilion seats at the Fenway are not the ones that are the little plastic chairs right in front of the hot dog stand. But June 6th, Red Sox and Rangers at Fenway, the WB Mason has kindly offered us seats, so we need to respond before the end of the week to let them know if we want to take them up on it.
Yes.
Let
us know.
You can talk to us outside of this room.
I mean, how many seats are there?
Yeah, you get one or two.
Just the
Yeah,
fab or fab and
Fab, fab invites, sorry.
Just the fab, sorry. There were a limited amount of seats available.
That's
Well, it's
fab
only
special.
us, but they only have a certain amount of seats capacity, so.
So we can't each take 12 people with us.
No.
Right.
So do we have to root for the Red Sox?
No.
Are you ready for the Rangers?
If you don't, the people serving champagne might not give it to you.
No, I know.
You want to root for the Rangers?
I used to live in you.
I'm sorry.
How do we respond to that? That's my fault.
Just, if you're available, just let Susan know. Or any of us, I mean, if you're emailing any of us, that's fine, we'll, and
I'll
we'll,
send out an email anyway.
we'll follow up with folks who weren't
Well,
here.
thank you for that, even if we can't, that's nice, thank you.
Well, if the vast majority of folks can't make it, I think I can arrange for another day, but we wanted to get an idea if we had a good crowd for this.
And you don't know later in the season whether it's gonna be less fun or not.
Oh, gosh.
And just mindful of folks' time, just wanna make sure, thoughts on next meeting topics, we can continue the globalization conversation, obviously, this is just dipping our toe in the water. What we are suggesting, and our promise to you up front, was quarterly meetings, which would take us into summer-ish. We would ideally like to meet prior to September, just because we'll have a series starting up again in September and want to touch base before then. We know we probably won't get our highest attendance in August, that's fine.
Can I ask one question about that, if we're talking about the globalization, to come up with topics? I mean, does it make sense to have that discussion be with the working group leaders present instead of in this forum?
Sure.
I don't want to have meetings where we're doing things that we're duplicating
That
ourselves.
absolutely has to go on. We can take on, help them flesh out any ideas once they've started bubbling up. I don't want to start getting into planning
Right,
all kinds
yeah, I
of
don't
things.
think, yeah. I guess what I'd like to see in August maybe is actual reports from the trenches, like for the FAB liaisons, like how did it go, like debrief this first half of the year. For each of the people that had a role, like, Svetlina's doing, an event, so how did that role go? What can we learn from that? Because I think that'd be our next best topic as we get ready to gear up for the globalization cycle. How do we see what went well, what went wrong, and get reports back? Because I'm not hearing everything, there's all kinds of stuff going on by email. It'd be great if we could get that all in one place. I don't know.
And develop best practices.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And just as a point, Dahlia had to vote, but she said that she can't make it on the 22nd, but she can on the 20th. So just looking around at the dates for August at what might, maybe we want to try to hold the group as to availability.
And to your point about involving the working groups, the brainstorming reception that we had here came up with that entire list of hot topics. Perhaps we do once, kind of initial discussion about
summer
globalization, a summer reception, and then we do the same thing. We do the same thing, and we end up with our hot topics for 2014.
For some reason, I think that the end of July is easier than the end of August for some. I just think August isn't August tough, period?
Yeah, it probably is.
So you're on the European calendar.
I'm taking.
Don't a lot of people take more time off, I don't know.
Yeah, in August, we've never done meetings in August for that
Yeah.
reason.
So this
We've
is
done
the
some
week before
planning
school
meetings.
too, so people are on, that's when they're going away, right?
No, we're in European time.
They're in European time, all of us, yeah.
Yeah.
Would folks prefer to meet in July?
I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because you're saying maybe I would be back more, because kids start earlier now, is that what you're thinking? In August?
So that, my kids have moved out, but
I mean, just in general.
they make their own calendar, but I think that week tends to be a week when anybody with kids in K to 12 or even K through college is vacationing, because that's their last chance.
Right, yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
So we think July or earlier in August? We really have we'll be here.
When's the September forum, like when is it?
June, it's September 12th and September 26th.
Well, why don't we just circulate a few dates in last week of July, first week of August for the next meeting, and see what gets the best respondents. Because late August, Chris is right. That's when anybody's got kids in school. They're probably bolting.
Yeah.
Last week away or whatever. Except me because my kid's in soccer training camp.
And all I would say is that I've sat here listening and not saying much of anything on the marketing, but it was a great presentation. What I would love to see is have it boiled down to one page. One page, here's the sort of like here, the objectives are, which I think was helpful. We keep talking about universities and tech transfer and all that, but I think that the companies drive it. Because that helps, that one statement helps provide clarification for internally at MassBio, as much as you'd like to include the universities and, drill down to the hospitals and, but this, so, target, membership strategies, the companies, boom, 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 and then, where the universities, and then also embrace an effectiveness of social media, LinkedIn #1, continue, it's sort of and from that one page, it's succinct sort of a game plan, even, not to be crazy, but even with a 10-year game plan, theoretically or 5-year plan for MassBio, that, you have, a synopsis of how many contacts you have, just really, and one really, not too small a print, but I mean, just so you can look at it and sort of just help encapsulate what those slides were instead of looking through the slides, and then create, as has been created, the theme idea, right? Here with Bob driving that and you guys driving that, and having it be cohesive. Having some sort of a cohesive understanding of what is the plan for marketing and outreach and deepening, that, to Bob's comment, to a 10x, growth. And how do you thoughtfully and strategically embrace that and roll it out and embrace what you have now, and build it. I think that one thing, the companies being I don't like you said that you said like Pfizer or Big Pharma is kind of new in that, but I think those are the people we want.
Right. But they're relatively new to the sort of biotech universe we've traditionally served. They're relatively new players. I mean, we've been around 26 years now. Pharma's really come on board in the last couple.
Because it's a win-win. If you go to one of these member companies and say, one of our number one agenda is you as the members and us making sure every one of your employees is consistently touched and made aware of and invited to the resources of MassBio. Then they win, we get targeted participation, and then going from that. And then I think also the comment about the universities, that the tech transfer, clearly it's a slide, that's the core emanating up from that, but who within the universities would be on the tech transfers mailing list? The tech transfer offices mailing list. They would be the best ones to understand is how.
There's an Eastern Autumn meeting.
Right.
When is that? Is that August?
I want to say June.
Okay.
Soon, Eastern, Autumn, which I don't think it's very expensive. You might want to send somebody to that.
But so then again, in complimenting you on the presentation was great on the marketing, but having a one page, once again, that would be a great thing to share with the working groups and have it be a synopsis and, show that we've had that discussion.
And that, if we could get that synopsis, a synopsis of the main points that we discussed and any actions that have come out of this meeting, if we could please forward that first to Dahlia and myself, so that we can help to flesh it out with whatever notes that we have, and we can get it out to the rest of the group in a timely manner. And things like this promotional one-pager, which I think is essential to have it legible and on one page, can go out to the working groups, and we should be off to the races.
Great.
Very good, thank you.
We'll be in touch. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all.
And let us know